Hello everyone and welcome back to yet another episode of Buff Breakdown. Man, just when I thought this event was done giving us stuff, man, they immediately proved me wrong. I'm recording this offline again because I have a big tier list stream today, later. But yeah, we not only got one or two buffs, we got 3 new buffs today. This is insane. So many buffs for one event, okay? I need to calm down. But yeah, this is kind of crazy stuff. It's, all these buffs are kind of pretty cool as well. We get buffs for Lancer Alter skill. OG Nero skill as well. And then Mordred as well for his skill. So yet again, 3 skill buffs. But man, they are just pumping out these. So let's just get right into it and start talking about these. We're gonna start by talking about the Lancer Arteria one, which I feel like will have the least impact, but still very nice to see. They did finally buff her awful Charisma E. It used to only be an AoE 12% attack up for the whole team for 3 turns on a 5-turn cooldown. Again, these days, this is not great. Now we have Wild Hunt A. Pretty cool name as well. They upped the attack number to 20% on AoE. Definitely a nicer number to look at. And then now they also added 2 new effects. These are for herself only, but she gets anti-lawful damage for 3 turns and anti-good alignment for 3 turns, both 30% each on the damage mods. Very cool. And it's kind of a cute little touch as well when you remember that OG Lancer Arteria got a buff where she does good damage against chaotic and evil, so it's basically the opposite of that. Granted, this is a 3-turn effect instead of a big burst, but yeah. If anything, I do prefer it like this. Even if the number is lower, the flexibility of the 3-turn is certainly very nice. So now this skill looks a lot more appealing, if anything. That's for sure. So finally got rid of that awful Charisma E that no one liked. Here's hoping they do similar treatment to like Salter and whatnot as well, sooner than later. So in my opinion, this is the small, quote-unquote smallest of the 3 buffs. Again, it's great. Will it really have a huge impact on her? Maybe not, but again, it's now a much nicer skill to look at. Now on the Lancer tier list, I did place her onto a B this year, and I think with this, I can move her up to at least a B+. Maybe even higher, would require some more playtesting, but I feel like I could easily bump her into here now though. Just a small little bump on her. Very cool. Kit is starting to look a little bit more modern, so yay, that's always a good thing. Now let's not waste any more time and immediately move on to the second buff, which is OG Umu. And best of all, it's a buff to her Imperial Privilege. Very, very cool. So, what are we working with here? They changed the name to Imperial Privilege, like Applause, I think stands for. Assai. So there you go, very cool. You know, she loves the attention after all. So, they did not change the old effects or the cooldown. They remain the same. Even the numbers and everything. So still, you're gonna have to rely on chance base to land that big attack and defense. So it is what it is. You still get the same big heal guaranteed. But now, 2 new effects also guaranteed. No RNG BS. So, very cool stuff. She now gets another arts buff for 3 turns, 30% this time, because if you remember, the buff to her 3rd skill already gives her a 20% arts buff for 3 turns. Granted, it is on a, it only works on beach maps or city maps, so it's a bit more niche, but it's even more cool because, again, this 20% is niche, and this is 30%, but it's always guaranteed. So you can have an up to 50% arts up from just her own kit if you are playing on the correct map. Very strong. Even if her arts cards are kinda, not great for hit counts and whatnot, this is still very nice to have. And then a flat 10 stars per turn for 3 turns. And then again, remember, Imperial Privilege is on a 5-turn cooldown. So now the value of the skill can be insanely broken. If you land the 44% attack and defense for 3 turns, get the big heal, 30% arts, 10 stars per turn, all of those for 3 turns and the cooldown is 5, that's insanity. Like, that's the potentially like just bonkers value levels right now we're looking at. So even if now you whiff both of the attack and defense, you still at least get some good stuff. This is still a big arts buff on a 5-turn cooldown. Usually stuff like this is on a 6-turn cooldown when it's the main card type for a character. So this already is so good. The stars are always a nice touch as well. She doesn't really have the biggest, like, crit synergy, but you know what? It's always nice to have stars, right? For sure, especially for gains, if not for damage as well. So, yeah, this is a much-needed buff. I really hope they start tackling all the other Imperial privileges in the future as well, because for now, I think only her and Wu Zetians have been buffed. Maybe I'm forgetting about someone else, but yeah, this is great. I love it. I wish they did something with the RNG as well, but you know what? At least now you get guaranteed very great value regardless. Now, on the tier list, I had her on a B, which arguably maybe was a bit low too. Again, she's a bit 50-50. And also, not to mention, this buff is also going to be great for her solo potential too. Something to worth note, because she does have potential there as well. Now, I think she can easily be a B+ tier. Honestly, I think I'm just going to move her into the A tier. For sure. I really like her stuff now, for sure. There's still some problems, like, you know, she can't loop at all. The MP refunds like bad. The MPFX suck, mostly. You know, so it's not like she's a god tier DPS or soloer, but she's looking much more solid now with this buff. So now the second skill sometimes isn't just a flat heal. You get so good value every time you use it, sometimes insane value. So there you go, Umu fans rejoice. A much, well, maybe not a much needed buff, but a very great buff regardless. Then we're going to talk about arguably the biggest one of them all. We got a Mordred buff. And if you guys saw my Saber tier list, you knew that she was already kind of far behind compared to her competition in at least loop farming. Her numbers were clearly far behind both her daddy and also Altera nowadays. But this buff is so good that it really makes up for all that stuff. Okay, it's time for Mordred fans to rise. Let's see what we're working with here. It's a buff to her mana burst, which again used to be a 1 turn 50% mana burst, which really hurt her overall 3 turn farming because it's only for the last turn basically. But now, check this shit out. Oh my, excuse my language. Now the Buster up is a 3-time 3-turn buff. So what that means is for Buster farming, you can have it for 3 MPs in a row. Wow, just wow, huge. Not even like Altera or Arturia have like this big for 3 times for 3 different MPs. Just wow. Now she also gets 30% Buster crit damage for 3 turns, which really pairs nicely with the second skill, already giving her a big amount of Buster Star Absorb and just generic crit damage as well. So when you combo these 2 skills, she can have up to 80% Buster crit damage for 3 turns. Very cool. Now, outside of this skill, she really won't be dishing out too many stars, and you still get 15 here, so you will need to feed into more stars into her if you want to, you know, tackle the crit playstyle. She won't really get consistent crits otherwise, so definitely bring a support that can, you know, handle stars or like 20-30s for your CEs, because now she's definitely way more crit viable as well. And remember, this is a 5-turn cooldown, so this uptime is also nice. And then, that's not even it. You think the Buster up is the one thing they're gonna do to improve her farming? No! She also now gets a 20% attack up for 3 turns on self. And again, attack buff is key, because that's the one thing the biggest mainstream supports, being Koyan and Oberon, that they do not offer. So as a Buster farmer, you really want to have an attack up to have all those mixed buffs going in to improve your damage even more. So wow, this skill is so much better, especially for farming now. This will make a huge impact, which I'm about to show you. So shout out to Jord. He already got the numbers out, he did the calcs, and we can just see the differences in here. If you're going to run the scuffed setup of the Super Scope Double Witch, you even see here already big number differences, right? But it gets way better. When you run the premium comp of Double Witch Oberon with the 50%er, look at the differences. Look at this. It's insane. It's like almost doubling her numbers. It's crazy good. And then with the absolute best case scenario, if you have an MLB Rising Mud Rain fully maxed as well, which a lot of people don't have at this point, but again, future proofing here. Man, these are some sick numbers. In fact, she pretty much now does the best of all the AoE Buster Sabers, as crazy as that sounds. So with one buff, if you look at her competition, right, there are some minor differences, like let's say Arturia, you know, peaks harder on wave 1 with the Rising Mud Rain comp, but man, just look at her numbers across the board. This is some crazy stuff right here. Just absolutely high numbers for a Buster farmer. So Mordred fans are eating hella nice today. Now I had her in a B, I think. Yeah, B tier on the Saber tier list. With this, she's minimum A+. Absolutely minimum. No arguments to be had. Probably should be EX, honestly. So she jumps a lot. Just she became that much more viable with just one simple change. It's the same thing what happened with Altera originally when they gave her the battery as well. So arguably, I should probably place her, honestly, next to Arturia, because Ibuki is up here as well. Granted, Ibuki is the better DPS in my opinion, but honestly, sure, I'm gonna ride the hype wave. I'm just gonna plop her there. Maybe next year when I do the list again, we'll maybe calm down a little bit, but sure, dude, this is insane. Like, look at these numbers. These are absolutely nuts. Just nuts. These are top-tier Buster farming numbers. But again, the comp is pretty restricting, so keep that in mind. But there are options, obviously. Absolutely nut stuff here. So there you go. Wow, 3 new buffs. Like, how many buffs is it total now? 3 plus 2 plus 1, 6. Is it 9 buffs this event or something? Oh my god. So again, thank you so much, Lasagna, for actually finally starting to push out buffs extremely fast as well. So let's hope we keep this up, because I would love to keep doing these videos as well. This is some hype stuff, man. So there you go. I'm gonna leave it at that. I like every buff. Some a bit more impactful than others, but every buff still good today, I would say. So if you enjoyed this video, do me a solid and press the like button. I will be, by the time you're watching this, I might be live doing my extra class tier list part 1 today, which you will see tomorrow as well as a YouTube video. So subscribe not to miss out on that. These new units also got a banner, so if you're rolling for them, best of luck. They are looking even better than usual. And otherwise, I hope you guys have a great rest of your Friday. And I hope to see you in the next video. Peace out.